Who gets to decide whether the United States is at war
The
or
president.
not?
He's trying to use this act to get around due process.
We want to tear that to shreds so that we can kowtow to one guy's opinion. Then we are in a monarchy.
We've got a couple more clips to laugh at of MAGA showing how hilariously little they truly know about the government and the Constitution during a CNN panel debate. So if you can, take a moment, leave us a like. It helps us out a ton, and we're going to hop right into the discussion.
Who gets to decide whether the United States is at war
The
or
president,
not?
in my opinion.
No.
If we're being invaded, I
Actually,
want the commander-in-chief to know.
Scott, no. It's actually the Congress.
When you're asking if we're being invaded.
I'm asking.
You want to call Congress and see if we're being invaded?
I'm asking a basic constitutional
We'll be taken over
question.
before they ever get to the committee.
Who gets to decide whether the United States is at war? The answer is Congress.
I'm talking about if we're being
so
invaded.
when the president
you can't use
says we're at
colloquialisms.
war,
Yeah.
he has to
Show we're actively
prove,
at war,
and
not
really
a
what he needs to
colloquialism.
do is go
Okay,
to Congress
while you guys
and get
discuss it
a
in committee, we'll let in another 20
Wait a
minutes.
second, though. I thought the genius of our system was that we weren't beholden to one guy's opinion. That the genius of the American system of government was that we had three co-equal branches, and in those co-equal branches, decisions were made about how we go about doing things. Now, we want to tear that to shreds so that we can kowtow to one guy's opinion. Then we are in a monarchy.
He is spot on, and there's two things to highlight here. It is both frightening in the ignorance that MAGA has towards our systems, our structures, and what government function really is. I think it speaks to a truly grave civic education failure, but even more so in MAGA's willingness and almost inherent want for the president to have king-like powers. And that's almost even scarier in that if more of these people knew how the government were structured, they would probably be more vehemently anti-American, which is another problem that probably needs addressed. Just because it's Donald Trump, by the way. Also, they wouldn't hold this sentiment for Biden, but they think the president should do things like unilaterally be able to decide we are at war. That's insane. At that point, he's literally a king and he could just send us into whatever he wants on a whim. It's not how we do things in this country. And I'm tired of the least American, least patriotic wing of the population trying to destroy everything that makes this country great while telling us we're anti-American for protecting it because, well, our name is MAGA, so we want to make America. Like, it's so stupid, especially when we know in Trump's first term, he wanted to invade Mexico. We know in Trump's first term, he wanted to invade Venezuela. We know in Trump's first term, he wanted to shoot protesters in the leg. Only his generals stopped him, and those generals are now replaced with yes-men. But that's who we want to give more power to.
He's trying to use this act to get around due process. And the court is saying this act does not apply. They're not telling him not to deport. They're saying use the process that's in place because this act does not apply.
As much bureaucracy and red tape as possible.
No,
keep
it's not
everybody-
bureaucracy.
It's not
red
red
tape.
tape.
It's
It's
the
the
law.
law.
What we're trying to do
It's
is
the law.
use the law. The law. I mean, look, is it such a big problem to say you can do things, but you have to do them lawfully? There's a process.
We
to
think
them.
this is lawful.
But it's not.
No, but
though.
the court just said it's
One
not.
The court just
judge,
said that it's
one
not.
stupid judge, and I want to see what the rest of them
How
say.
you know it's stupid? You know
Why
it's
is that
court?
stupid?
I
Because he
guess we have to
disagrees with
remind
the
everybody
assessment
here
of
that
Donald
Trump
Trump.
appointed this judge.
I don't care.
Okay?
Again, it
so this
doesn't
is a
matter.
Trump-appointed judge.
He's not infallible. Judges make stupid decisions all the time.
I mean, Scott Jennings, a member of the Party of the Constitution, calling constitutional principles, things literally in the Bill of Rights, red tape and bureaucracy is insane. That should give the game away itself. These clowns do not value the rule of law. You know, if electing the 34-count fella and the civilly liable rapist didn't tell you that already, well, now we know. It is scary, though, that there is seemingly no court that these people will respect. They're losers. If it's a judge appointed by a Democrat, well, it's a woke activist radical judge. If it's a judge appointed by Trump, well, it's just one judge, so who cares? If it's the Supreme Court with 3 handpicked Trump judges handing him a 9-0 loss, he'll still ignore them and say, well, I interpret their ruling different. This blatant disregard of the judiciary is impeachment worthy in itself, mixed with the constitutional violations of due process. I don't see any other path.
They're not all violent, but
They are not all violent. They are not all violent.
But they are all criminals.
And everybody, whether they are 2 years old or whether they are 90 years old and have been in our country the entire time, they deserve a process. The criminals.
I'm sorry, what process did they follow to get here? The process of breaking our laws?
Well, because there is a law, there are laws in order, and there are deportation proceedings to get these people out of our country.
Listen how long you
the
want this to last.
99-year-old who is here
It'll
did
last
not
forever.
invade our
It'll
country.
last forever.
Batya, let me let you get a word and
Well, to me, like the energy in defense of these gangbangers.
I'm not defending
the
them.
way
I just
Nobody's
said
defending
gay.
them.
I said people said you're gay should leave.
Hold on
I
a
feel
second,
like
one at a
that
time,
poem
one
where
at a
it's
time.
like, you know,
It gets kind of frustrating because you can look MAGA straight in the eyes and just clearly articulate the position. Gang members, violent criminals who are immigrants absolutely should be deported after being found guilty in a court of law, preferably, but at bare minimum, with the required immigration hearing in front of a judge with the notice of removal, due process. And MAGA will still be like, you want to import voters, you're defending criminals. If anything, it's MAGA's position that helps criminals more. Just think about it critically. If someone sexually assaulted someone here and we deport them on the mere accusation, no conviction, no indictment, no charges, no evidence, no anything, that's not enough to keep them in a prison in the country that we send them to. So they'll be walking free in that country to either A, commit those crimes in that country. So you're saying, oh, we don't care about crimes if it's not in our backyard. We don't care about victims if they're not American. Or you're giving them the chance to just sneak back into this country. Think if they were here undocumented at one time, why wouldn't they come back? Especially if, hey, they just got a free flight back home and now they can try again to then sneak back here and do the crime again. So who is it that wants to help violent criminals? Why would we not want violent criminals charged and convicted, held in a cell where we know justice would be carried out? Why? Because they're brown? Because we want to get them out of America? Like, these positions fall on their own faces with the least bit of critical thinking.